Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming and joining us on another episode of Windshield Time at Mountain Land Supply. I'm Joey. I'm here with Brandon, our CEO, Spencer, the man shorts,
Hello.
and one. And we're good.
And we're done with him.
Today, we're going to talk about something that may be people haven't really thought about before. Maybe they hear the term and then they kind of move on from it. But we're going to talk about board meetings, like board of directors meetings. We just had our quarterly board of directors meeting here at Mountain Land last week. And Brandon serves as a member of that board, and he serves on other boards in the community. So we're going to talk about kind of what boards' responsibilities are, why they're even there, why we have one. You know, we're a company of owners. Why do we need to have another governing board that looks over us? So we're going to talk about that and then maybe some of the things that come out of board meetings. So, Brandon, what is the purpose of a board of directors?
So that's a great question. So just to give a little preface to this for me, as I go around through the company, a lot of people, especially even a few years ago when we went through the ESOP transaction, a lot of people were asking, how does this all get, who's watching out for what and who's doing what? Things of that nature. And that comes up even still today. Mm-hmm. There's people out there that think that, I don't have a boss at all. And the reality of it is, no, I do have a boss, and it's 6 other people. It's this group that we call a board of directors. And if you look at the corporate governance through other companies, it's common to have a board of directors for a company that's a little bit bigger, a little bit more, I don't want to say legitimate, but a company that's a little
more
bit
complex.
More complex is probably usually like some of our contractors, businesses that are a little bit smaller, they're owned by maybe one person, things of that nature. Technically, they're supposed to have a board of directors, but their board of directors might consist of them, and they might say, "Hey, we had a board meeting once a year, and off we
which
go."
is totally appropriate for their company.
Exactly. For ours, it's a little bit different. For bigger companies, it's a little bit different. They take it on a little bit more serious role within the governance of our corporate governance of a company. So when we went to an ESOP, actually, let's go before an ESOP, we did have board of directors. When we had all 4 companies,
we had separate boards of directors.
We had 4 separate boards of directors. Now, we had a lot of those directors that sat on all 4 or multiple boards within our companies, but there was different people that sat on some of those as well that only sat on one. So as we brought everything together, it was kind of interesting. We had to still have a board of directors for our holding company. And then when we went ESOP, it was kind of interesting as well, because the trustee came in and said, hey, and he represents the ESOP. And he says, what we would like to see is that on the board of directors, if you're going to have 7 people, which is what we were planning, we want to see 2 of those people be independent. And what that means is it's people from outside of the company that maybe have some industry knowledge. They might have knowledge specific to accounting, finance, might be law, attorneys, ESOP, whatever that might be. They wanted to see, they didn't dictate who it should be. They didn't dictate what their background should be. They just said, we want 2 independents. And they gave a certain amount of time to be able to find those people. So I remember going through that, trying to figure out who should be on this board, because this board, kind of getting back to your question, what does this board do? Well, this board gives a kind of an oversight. They don't get into the weeds. They don't get into the managerial decisions that, our executive team does every day. But it's a high level understanding where is this company going? What's the vision here? And they help with that vision. And then they also hold the management accountable for the performance of the company, that we're executing to that vision and that we are creating, value for our ESOP. Is their basic responsibilities.
A lot of people use the terms advise and consent, so they're advising you on things that you should be looking for. And in certain instances, they do give consent on large purchases or, new things that you're going into, like financial partners, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So there's certain actions that we have to take within our company that have to go to that board for approval. They have to give their consent to, and we actually have to have a vote for it, and it's documented in notes and for the board of directors that people are able to see afterwards. If banks want to see him, or usually our auditors want to look at him, things of that nature. So, but as we were going through that, we had to find two independents. Going back to the story, we had to find two different independents, and we reached out to one gentleman that has some industry standard or industry experience. He had sat on some of our other boards beforehand. We continued with him, and then we also reached out to another gentleman that had some background in the finance. He was a retired CPA partner or partner at a CPA firm, and had rich experience with mountain land, but had had that separation for a while so that he was considered an independent. And it was kind of interesting because we were there. It was a little nerve-wracking of saying, okay, you're bringing in people from the outside that do they understand our culture and where we're going and what we're doing. But we put some faith in them, and honestly, there's some phenomenal people. To the point now, so 5-6 years down the road now, we have a 7-person board, and out of that 7 people, 5 of them are independents now.
Yep.
We've moved more towards that because of the value that they bring and the experience and the knowledge that they bring to the table is just phenomenal. And so we've moved towards that to be able to have that.
Yeah. So we, in everything that we do, one of the beauties of our company is that we're so diverse. We have so many different opinions, a lot of people with different backgrounds. We have fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, grandparents that all work here. So they all bring a unique perspective of the way we can do things. The same is true for our board of directors. We have a lot of different, diverse people on there that just see things differently than maybe you and I and Bruce do, who sit in that room with them. And they're just giving us a different perspective that may be useful.
Yeah.
And it may not be useful, but it still deserves to be heard.
Yeah.
And that leads to better decisions.
For sure. And they push us.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting last week as we were preparing for it. You're not stressed. I don't know. Yeah. I don't stress out about it, but you get a little, hey, this is a big deal.
Put you on your game.
Yeah, and we take it very serious. And so just the preparation that goes into it, making sure you want to be able to answer any questions that they might have. And the questioning can go anywhere and everywhere, and it does.
And they're really smart people, so you can't BS them.
No.
You have to be based in fact.
No. We try and be over the top transparent with this group because we want them to know exactly what we're doing and what's our intent.
They would catch you if you did try and
and I would not want to be put in that position because again, they are extremely smart people that sit around that table. So, and they're phenomenal. And what's really cool too is these people, even though they're not a part of the company, they care about the company
and they feel like they are.
Yeah, and it's we've had discussions in there with them, and I will tell you, you've heard it probably on this podcast before, how our perspective is as an executive team. We look out for our employee owners, and we try and make the best decisions for our employee owners. Mm-hmm. That flows through to our board. They have that same mentality as well. We've been in discussions where we're talking about bonuses or, compensation, things of that nature, overall compensation for the company, to what different acts that we're doing that, and they're always asking what's best for the employees, and they just have that mentality, and it's a beautiful thing to be a part of, to be able to see that and see this group come together, even though that they don't know our employees personally.
Well, and they really respect the fact that we are employee owned, and for all those of you who are listening out there that are the employee owners here, they treat this company as if that is what it is.
Yep.
There are a bunch of owners that are out there that are depending on us to make the right decisions.
Yep. So, and they're depending, those owners are depending on them.
Yeah. To make the right decision and to hold us to account.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So it's an awesome group to be a part of, to be able to interact with them. And what's really fun too, or what's awesome, is that we're able to even reach out to them between these quarterly meetings that we have, and just talk to them and just say, hey, I got a question. What's your perspective on this? Mm-hmm. And we've done that multiple times with different ones, depending on what's going on and their different expertise that they bring to the table. And just a phenomenal group to be a part of, and to be able to sit in those meetings, but be able to have those relationships with them.
Yeah, they're the diversity that we have in that room has gotten stronger as we've gone on, and we've brought in new people. One of the people that we have in there now is Kim, and he's an amazing person. Kim Blauer, he's an ESOP consultant, and he helped us through our ESOP conversion. One thing that he brought up in our most recent meeting is he serves in the ESOP community in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. One
thing that he was involved in was there's Pete Stavros, who is the CEO of KKR, they're a huge second largest investment firm in the world, M&A firm in the world. But Pete is really carrying the torch for employee ownership right now, as they go through, and they're a private equity firm, so they'll go through and they'll buy companies. As they do that, they're setting aside a portion of the buyout when that will happen, because that's what happens with firms like that. They're just trying to buy a company for 5 years, 3 to 5 years, improve it, improve all the metrics, and then sell it for a higher multiple. And his idea is that at the end of that, you have a carrot for all the employees that are working there. So he sees this as the best way for everything to move forward, and for, Wall Street to meet Main Street halfway. There's a cool, it's cool if you want to just hear a few things. Like, don't get lost in the fluff, because it is kind of a fluff piece on ESOPs, but it's okay. It's good. So Freakonomics, a lot of you have probably listened to that episode or that podcast. It's episode 587. It's called "Should Workers Own Their Companies?" So Kim has a little bit to do with that episode, and Brandon and I have listened to it. It's a good hour of your day if you're mowing the lawn, you don't have anything else to do, and you just want to listen to something. But it explains the ESOP process really well too, which is, it kind of breaks it down to an elementary level. It talks about what a trustee is, why you need them, the ins and outs of an ESOP 101 in, a Freakonomics way, which they have their own way of storytelling. So it's pretty good. So if you guys want some extra curricular, assignments, go check that out. One thing that we wanted to talk to you guys about is some of the things that come out of these board meetings. Yeah. Oftentimes there's initiatives that come out of it. Sometimes there's directives that come out of it, or we as management go in with something that we're going to be working on for the next quarter, and we present that to the board and let them know that, hey, we intend to improve on this process throughout the next quarter. And one thing that Brandon and I had talked about before that meeting, and we presented to them, was improving our inventory.
Yeah.
We've, over the years of COVID and years since, when the supply chains were really, really tight and screwy and it was hard to get things, we had to overstock a lot of items. And we're still not completely out of it in every segment, and we understand that. But we also have enough reporting to show that we have some inventory that needs to be moved around and some that needs to be discounted out. And so you will see a lot of stuff like that happening over the next quarter. We just wanted you guys to know that is a directive from us and from the board of directors to do something like that.
Yeah, that's a great example of, these meetings go on for hours, and we have a lot of good things that come out of that. And inventory in this last one was, going into it, we knew that was going to be a topic. We knew that it was an issue, I guess, for our company, and we knew that they would be bringing it up. And sure enough, they were right on. Johnny on the spot, they did bring it on. We had that discussion about inventory. And we have one board member that loves talking about inventory.
His favorite whipping boy.
And he's spot on. He's right.
He's not wrong.
And it was just kind of funny. We kind of knew going into it, but you are right. As we go through these next few weeks, and this isn't one thing that I would say is this, we're not uncommon here.
Oh no.
As we look, because we try and have a good pulse on the industry across the nation. We have a lot of affiliates or a lot of relationships that we talk to different suppliers as well, distributors that are in our industry, and they're bloated as well. We're bloated.
If anything is uncommon, it's that we're reacting to it first.
Yes. And I think we're going to be, how do I say, like, we're making decisions with a lot of knowledge where other people don't have the knowledge that we have.
They don't have the tools in place.
Exactly. The information to be able to act upon. They kind of run their businesses with their gut, and we're a little bit more detailed. We like to say, okay, our gut says this, but show us the information that proves that that's right before we do that. So some of the things, that we've looked, and I'll just throw a few numbers out there for our people. We're cresting almost 200 million in inventory. And some of our industry metrics show us that we're probably about 10% high. So about 20 million that we have in slow moving, obsolete, or just inventory. Honestly, I think a lot of it is inventory that's just in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just in a branch that doesn't really sell it, but it could be moved to another branch that can be sold. Now, is that all 20 million? Probably not. But I know that a lot of it is, and we can do a lot of. We're going to be able to enact a lot of tools to be able to shave that down. And I had a conversation with Danny, who is our director of inventory, and I told him, we were just talking, and he had heard this initiative because I kind of brought it up last week, and Joe, you kind of took the lead on that one after that meeting and said, hey, we're going to get people going on this, and so you called everybody to arms on this, and he was talking to me about that meeting that you guys had, and I was like, Danny, we got to get on top of this. And anyways, it's just fun to talk to him about it because he's very passionate about inventory. Yeah. But we even went to, I was like, honestly, Danny, I think you can go 30. You can bring it down 30 million and just make us even leaner on that. Not lean in the necessary of we don't have any inventory to sell.
Yeah.
But let's get the right stuff. Let's get the right mix in our company that we can just sell this stuff, be awesome. Take that 30 million and let's get good inventory that we know that we're probably maybe a little low on, and let's get a little bit sucked up a little bit better, and let's order less of this other, the C's, D's, E's, F, G's, all the way to Z's, whatever items that we have, these categories. So it was fun. He gets excited about it and he starts talking, I think we can. But you might ask, well, how do you know that we're 20 million over, for example? Well, that comes in our board meeting. When we go into that, we have a lot of metrics that we're looking at. One of the biggest things is inventory turns. Mm-hmm. And so that's seeing how many times do you turn your inventory in 1 year? And industry average is about pre-COVID. I need to do that, put that out there. Pre-COVID, it was about 4. And now inventory, it's a delicate number. We can't get too high.
Spot.
Yeah. You can't get too much inventory, but you need to have enough inventory. So that inventory turn, if you have too much, what happens is that inventory turn comes down. And we're a little low right now. So that indicates that we're a little high. And if we get we bring our inventory too low, then that inventory turn goes too high. And then what happens is now when your customers come in looking for a solution, looking for a product, we might not have it.
Yeah.
And so that's why you can't just say, hey, instead of 4, we should be 8. If 4 is good, 8's going to be better. Actually, no, that actually might be detrimental to our company.
Yeah.
But it might be 4.2. There might be a range between like 4.3 to 3.8 that we would want to get into.
Yeah. So basically, if you're to simplify turns of inventory.
I just got my nerd on there.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Now. So to simplify turns of inventory, it's how many times an item in your inventory is turned over throughout the year. So if you have some wax rings for toilets, say, right, and you use one of those or 4 of those a year, right? That means that you should have how many of those on the shelf at one time? 1 of them, right? Because you want 4 turns. So you're going to turn that inventory. That's where the quote unquote turn comes from. You're going to turn that inventory 4 times a year. So we're trying to do that with every single one of our products. And remember, we have over 20,000 SKUs in the system just at the Mountain Land stores. That doesn't include power equipment or anything else. So that's where the delicate balance comes in. And add to that our claim to fame, or one of the hallmarks of our go-to-market strategy, has always been the company that has the material. Yeah. And so we will sacrifice a little bit on the end of turns so that we can help support our customers. So we haven't forgotten that. We're not going to abandon that at all. But we've all acknowledged that we can get a little bit better on it.
Yeah.
And our inventory is our second highest asset. Our first highest is our employees. Inventory is the next one. It is huge. And if we can turn 10% of that into cash, that's all the better for your ESOP.
Yep.
So we're just trying to be respectful of your dollars that you have earned. We want to make sure that those are being used in the best way possible.
Yeah. And it's just being aware of what's going on and just not letting it get out of hand.
Yep.
And so we understood, like you kind of described, coming out of COVID, we knew, or during COVID, we knew that we had to overstock.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get it. So
because you weren't going to get it anytime you wanted it.
Well, you didn't know when you were going to get it. Yep. So you just took it when you could get it.
Yep.
And as much as you could get, we would take it.
Because you were going to sell it.
Exactly. And we wanted to be able to help our customers out.
Yep.
And so, but you're spot on. This is something that we need to be aware of. We know that when we focus up on something like this, we hunker down. It's going to be phenomenal. Like, we're going to have some great results. So we're looking for that. And I think we're going to have some great success here. But just if you start seeing things move around, that's what we're trying to do, is to just bring that down so that we can bring that ratio. We can manage our inventory a little bit better, and also our cash flow, because like you said, 20 million of extra inventory means 20 million of cash that's being tied up right now.
Yeah.
And what can we do with that 20 million? We can do a lot of things.
Yeah.
We could go purchase how many more companies if we needed to, or we can purchase other inventory that might be selling better, that we're having more success with, or at higher margins. Or we can invest in
pay down some debt.
Pay down debt. We can invest in markets that were already established that might need to be beefed up a little bit. So a ton of things that we can be doing, and we realize that. So now, is this going to happen overnight?
Nope.
No, it's not. We know that it's going to take time, but we got to start acting now. And so that's what you're going to start seeing in the next few weeks.
Well, I think the cool thing about it is that it goes from, an idea to the board of directors meeting, and then it gets filtered out through, our level 10 system, and eventually everybody at this company is working on the same project. And when we have 1,000 of us working together, we're going to make a huge dent.
Yep.
So if you're out there and you're listening to this, go ask your supervisor, hey, what's our department doing to help with the inventory movement that we wanted to do as a company that Joey and Brandon were talking about?
Yep.
Just go ask them. We're starting out with open orders for all salespeople. There's $10 million in liquidatable open orders that we know is kind of stuff we can move pretty quick. And then we're going to start moving inventory around. So just go ask them what you can do to help.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So
yeah,
we appreciate everybody. We know that when, like you said, when everybody's in the know and we know what we're doing, and we can do some miracles, we can create some miracles, and that's what we're going to do here.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So, yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
Inventory, board of directors, phenomenal.
Nerd time. Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate you spending some windshield time with us, and we'll see you down the road.
Have a good one.